Why, hi there. How are you? It's Uncle Ron Juckett. Nice to have you along on this Sunday night. We haven't done a real proper Ask Uncle Ron in a while. We actually chatted with the Sports Time Machine last Sunday when we had to fill in with when our buddy Kurt wasn't had a medical thing going on, and so we couldn't have the baseball game. That was postponed till today, and it's funny. We've yet to have a favorite win in that 60s tournament. The whole process of seeding. But, I think that's one of the. Speak of the devil, how are you? I think one of the things when you do a cross era or more than 1 year tournament is that you just really don't know. I think for all of those, whether it was that 70s tournament, which was won by the Orioles, they walked it off in fantastic fashion. Or this one, or good. Kurt, by the way, now has started his own YouTube channel and is showing off Pine Tar 1982 World Series. So if you haven't subbed to Kurt, you should, because he's just a good guy, and I'm glad he's doing great. Anyway, back to the point being, if you sit there and do anything that's more than 1 year in a 1-game playoff, which is what people seem to want to buy, you really are talking best starter versus best starter. And what I did, for what I've done so far, is go with the 2 starters with the best whip. Koufax had a whip which is walks and hits allowed divided by innings pitched of like 874. And anything under a 1 is just absolutely fantastic. In fact, if you really are under 1.1, that puts you in Cy Young territory. And second time to the lineup, that's all what it took. So, take some of these with a grain of salt over that. The Dodgers really couldn't hit anyway. But, they're fun. You just never know. Remember the first game of that 70s tournament was the 70th. Dave Little is the one that bought it. We did a lot of good promotion for sports simulations and replays on Facebook. The best place on Facebook to post your replay project, whether it is PC console or on the tabletop. There's some good tabletop groups too, but we did a lot for sports simulations and replays. They broke 1,000 subs while we were doing that tournament. Anyway, Dave Little is a very good guy. He does it on his channel. You should subscribe to that as well. Big wrestling fan and all that. And he pretty much wanted the 75 Reds to win. And that's fine. I mean, doesn't matter to me. But I think I went with Gary Nolan, who got injured in the first inning. And he wanted the 4 team to be the 73 Mets, which is a team that barely survived to get in, and the 75 Reds are one of those iconic teams that Joe Morgan will remind you that they won the World Series. They did win it in 7 over the Red Sox. And so over a 7-game series or even a 5-game series, I think the Reds win that 9 times out of 10. In fact, I would venture to guess over a 7-game series, I think they would probably win it 10 times out of 10. But in a 1-game playoff, you go with the Mets pitcher, and it was the Mets' best starter, and that was Tom Seaver, who had just a tremendous 1973. And this led to that, and that led to that, and the Reds were gone in the first 40 minutes. And that's like, oh, isn't that exciting? I'm thrilled to pieces for that. Anyway, we ended up having a great tournament. That was the one where we had the 71 Pirates and the 79 79 Pirates and the 71 Orioles in the final, or 70 or whatever Oriole team we had in there. And Willie Stargell hit a home run to give the Pirates a lead in the top of the 9th inning, and Brooks Robinson walked it off in the bottom of the 9th inning. So, that's what you get. So one of those things, and it just makes it kind of fun because you just never know. But yeah, I construct a lineup for both teams. So if one team does well and the other team doesn't, I'm not a genius for making one team look good and an idiot for making the other team look bad. I knew the Dodgers would struggle with offense. I think the 65 Reds are going to beat the 60 Pirates. They can hit, and I don't know if the Pirates have a lefty I can throw at them. I tried that with the San Francisco Giants in there. Anyway, so let's see. I survived a cold since we've done this last. The Washington Nationals have won the National League, which was a great surprise to me. What a series they had, and congratulations to the Houston Astros. They are just a phenomenal team. I really do think that we have two very good teams going into the World Series. Houston's odds, by the way, I looked at Bovada, and they are getting 4-9. So if you bet 9 and they win, you get paid 4. Which someone told, Ricky Keeler told me today, that is the worst odds, or the Nationals are the biggest underdog in the World Series since 2007. And I'm assuming that the Colorado Rockies were the underdog in 2007. Kind of similar situation. Rockies swept whoever they beat that year. The Red Sox had to come from 3-1 down to beat Cleveland. Todd B ripped up his George Hendrick voodoo doll several times during that. Josh Becca had the great series. And the Rockies lost all their momentum. They sat for 8 days. And the Red Sox had to play up until, I think, 2 nights before, the night before. I think game, that really doesn't matter. There just wasn't much of a rest. And the Red Sox just steamrolled through Colorado. The first 2, of course, were at Fenway, and the Red Sox, Jacoby Ellsbury, they won the last 2 in Chicago. Now, the first 2 are in Houston. And, of course, the weekend, if the rain holds off, the middle 3, if needed, will be in Washington. And then Tuesday and Wednesday back in Houston. By the way, tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, we will start. We'll do a pre-play of games 1 and 2 in the World Series. I bought the Dave Koch Action PC team, so we'll be doing that. Now, talk about what's going to go on tomorrow and what's going on tomorrow night. And can you tell us if you are not as impressed with this year's Nats? Actually, I'm quite impressed with this year's Nats. For starters, I don't think their offense was as good. I was not real sold on Dave Martinez as a manager. Apparently, I'm quite wrong about that. Like I said, they've had better than the 2 years I covered the team. They had better offenses, but they also had Bryce Harper. And they would kind of freeze up in the playoffs. This group, they won the wild card game, and they just struck me in the NLDS as a very loose bunch. And I think it was game 3 against St. Louis in the NLCS that at one point the TBS camera showed Max Scherzer high-fiving everybody in the dugout. Scherzer wasn't pitching the game. And that just really struck me as, wow, that is rare in baseball to do that. The only other kind of, here, let me gather you around so I can impart you some wisdom as a team, was also against the Cardinals in 2013 when David Ortiz did the same thing in the sixth inning of Game 5. Let me pull you all together and tell you how we're going to beat these people. And that was the night after the obstruction play at third base, and the Cardinals won on a walk-off obstruction. We like to thank Colton Long for getting picked off at first, whatever, the night before or the next night. So tomorrow night, what's going on is every year the Action PC folks do release the playoff teams. And last year, because it was the Red Sox, I did a pre-play of the World Series, and because the Dodgers actually won that, by the way, in 6 games. And so it kind of turned into a what-if World Series because the Red Sox won in 5 and the Dodgers won in 6. So we'll do games 1 and 2 tomorrow night. Games 1 and 2, as Baseball Demo says, have epic starting pitching matchups. So I think we're seeing Scherzer and Verlander tomorrow, and on Tuesday, and Cole and Strasburg on Wednesday for game 2, if I'm not mistaken, right? And of course, they'll get those games in Houston because there's a retractable roof, so the weather won't be a factor. Washington might be, from what I understand, but a week out is kind of hard to tell. So hopefully that answered your question, Kurt. It's a special bunch, this Washington team. I'm glad to see that Juan Soto really, it was Robles was the one that everyone was raving about. And I remember watching Soto in that preseason or exhibition season last year when I was still covering the Nats. I went, he's pretty good. And we'll see about Corbin. There is a question about who should throw out the first pitch in D.C. I think they should have Harper. Not signing him freed up for the money for Corbin and both catchers. I'm glad that Bryce is actually genuinely happy for Washington. Frank Howard was talked about. I mean, that would be the connection between the old Senators and the new Nationals. Howard's not feeling well, not well enough to travel. I think Washington was right to move on from Bryce Harper. Harper probably will get Philadelphia to a World Series at some point. Philadelphia has a lot of other issues. Who did I see was actually going to get a second interview there? It's not Girardi, is it? Dusty Baker, I guess, was going to interview for that job, which made no sense to me. Why would he ever leave the left coast? Anyway. No, I wouldn't do Harper. Soriano had the 40-40 year. Maybe a member of Frank Robinson's family since he was the first manager. Drew Douglas because he's such a big fan. I've not been invited to throw it out, by the way. So I don't know who should throw out the first pitch. They got some good choices. Maybe bring Gio back. The Buffalo, Wilson Ramos. Honestly, if you could do an active player, it'd be Ryan Zimmerman. He really is the face of the franchise. He's such a big home run, too. Are you guys surprised St. Louis played so poorly in the NLCS? Worth was okay. That would be a good one because, along with Scherzer, Worth was one of the first really big free agents to make the move. John Thompson and Gary Williams. Wrong sport. Maybe Joe Theismann, he can take a leak before he goes out to the mound. Or John Riggins. Actually, you know what? If there's an off day for the Caps, I wonder if one of those people, assuming that they're all three games, and depending on where the Capitals are, I wonder if it would be Ovechkin. Be certainly a lot more sober this time than he was before. Thompson would be a good choice because of Georgetown and playing in the city. Joe Gibbs. Maybe just for that reason as well. I think the Nats will try to stay away from anybody from the Expos. That just does not go very well with the fan base. Yeah, Gibbs or Theismann. Riggins is still a big name down there. Wes Unseld. Worth, I think, would be a good choice. But it's too bad that Frank Robinson's no longer with us because he would have been a very good choice as well. And I'm not sure who anyone really from the 69 Senators, if they're still alive, would be a good choice. Of course, the last World Series game in Washington was in 1933, which was, 48 years before I was born. And I turned 48 in November. Yeah, Riggins is a big name in DC. Here, go ahead and plug your tournament that you want, the APA tournament that you're sponsoring, that you put in the Digital Dice. By the way, we taped an episode of Digital Dice today. We interviewed Bruce Kish, who is the creator of Classic Hockey, Classic Golf. Yes. Maybe Bob Carpenter. See you later. I can't stand FP. I fell in love with Charlie Slows and Dave Egler on the radio. And if you get the chance to listen to Charlie's call of that ninth inning, it's, pretty incredible. But if it wasn't for Washington, I'd be rooting for Houston. I just love Jose Altuve, and the 2 years that after the ballpark in Palm Beach. How you doing, Todd B? Nice to have you along. I covered the team during spring training. That is a beautiful facility down in West Palm, and Houston was good. Every time that you'd watch the Astros play a preseason game, like, whoa. Someone asked me today, I think it was during the tournament game that I did, whether it would be a big disappointment for Houston if they did. Oh, no, it was on Discord. In fact, I think it was Todd B. If Houston did win this year. Well, Houston, I'll get to that in a second, Appa. Houston has a World Series, and I don't think Washington is a terrible team at all. Is Houston more talented? Probably. Do you bet against the hot hand going in? We'll see. If Houston wins the first 2 games easily, yeah, it might be that. All right, a couple things here to post. Appa chatter. I can't get my head up high enough. You lose my forehead. I'm playing the playoff teams from 20 to 2016, including coin toss games using Appa Baseball. Used Excel to randomly generate dates. I'm not touching that one. And I use lineups from those days. Oh, okay. I get it. From those dates in the respective years. That's fun. Manic Monday tomorrow on Baseball Demos channel will be the 87 Top Cello break for the Friends of the Community. And I'm sure that was done on random.org. And somehow I'm sure that my beautiful name is attached to that Bob Stanley on the top of the cello, right? Anyway, for Appa Chatter, best of 5 series, I tend to manage the NL teams more if they have the DH. Todd B picked up a Garrett Cole rookie baseball card at the show yesterday. He's something. To have 300 strikeout pitchers on one team is incredible. And Washington strikes out a ton. I will say this. I think at some point, Dave Martinez will try to play some small ball. They've got the lineup for it. I was happy to see Adam Eaton have a good NLCS. And I after watching Game 5 of the NLDS between the Cards and the Braves, and what the Cardinals did to Atlanta, I just can't believe the Cardinals played as bad as they did. Now, Washington played pretty well. A couple almost, Animal Sanchez. Kurt, you're a weird man. All right, guy. Glad to have you along. Get some sleep. Mark's father, by the way, Haywood Sullivan and Buddy LaRue nearly ruined the Red Sox back in the late 70s. That team was a colossal mess. And Buddy LaRue and Haywood Sullivan and Gene Yawkey owned the team after her husband Tom died. And those two clowns nearly got into it, tried to sue each other. And so, Mark's, and just a sec, Todd, and really just kind of broke up that. This was the squad that failed to mail a contract to Carlton Fisk, allowing him to become a free agent. When will we see it? I might tuck it in Wednesday night, doing the live, or maybe the night after. Or maybe tomorrow morning. It was kind of cool. There's one decade where the Yankees won 10 straight pennants. I think it was the 20s. And the 50s, they were good, too. How you doing, Rob? There's no longer Yawkey Way. I believe it's, I forget what they renamed it, but Yawkey Way is gone. The story goes that Willie Mays was brought in to play for Red Sox scouts at Fenway Park, wondering if the Red Sox would be the first team to break the color barrier, and He went to the Giants instead, and they won 2 National League pennants in New York, and kind of suffered a lot in San Francisco. Then again, by the way, today is Juan Marichal's 82nd birthday. Manny Ramirez, Lazy Lane Avenue. No, it's not Buckner Boulevard. It was my dad. After that World Series, they're talking about renaming the tunnel. This was before the big dig, and look, they're going to rename one of the tunnels in Boston after one of the Red Sox players. Actually, they did. It was now the Ted Williams Tunnel, and it was the Buckner Tunnel because everything would go through his legs. Manny Ramirez, Lazy Lane Avenue, and that would almost intersect with George Hendrick Boulevard, right? And speaking of the Redskins, you got to wonder now, because of how close the Nationals and the Capitals are, is this the impetus now with the Nats making a World Series and possibly winning one that actually gets Bruce Snyder to actually do something down there? The Giants, by the way, didn't look very competent today either. And the Habs played 50 good minutes against Minnesota, but it's a 60-minute game for hockey. So, yeah, no, he not a Hall of Fame career in my view, but much, much better than what he should be remembered for sure. It was Buckner that almost climbed the wall to catch Henry Aaron's 715th homer. And in his last at bat at Fenway Park, in 1990, they brought him back, and in a game against the Kansas City Royals. And Buckner, if you thought Buckner was slow in '86, he hit an inside the park a home run, 1990. Gubaza! He's also the goalie for the Tampa Bay Lightning. You think Jerry's going to make himself a coach? Who would they lose to? Oh, no. Oh, they play the Eagles tonight. They could always beat the Eagles. That's cool. And so Baseball Demos is being nice and not telling me which Bob Stanley packet he put my name on. How many Stanleys you pull? I like the 87 tops, by the way. They're still making them, but I like them. The wood grain, the logos, great stuff. I have 2 boxes of 86 cellos. I think I've opened like a quarter of a box. I paid less for them when I bought them 10 years ago than what I would have paid for in 1986. That includes the shipping. That just tells you everything you need to know about baseball cards between 1986 and 2000. Overproduced stuff. I was watching Baseball Demos, by the way, did an 1990 Upper Deck. That's not happening during the season, Rob. It might happen after the season, but I've never seen that happen during the season. College coaches don't really have good. Remember Barry Switzer? I remember watching the game. Well, it took a little while after that. Eventually, should have led to Barry's. Actually, I'm not sure. The Super Bowl that they won was Switzer because Neil O'Donnell kept throwing it to the wrong person. Isn't that fun? So we got a big week coming up. We're doing, like I said, World Series pre-play. We'll do games 1 and 2 tomorrow. We'll do game 3 on Wednesday. And 4 and 5 we'll probably do Thursday. Football this week, Cleveland and Minnesota. And then speaking of 1986 and the Red Sox, the Monday night game, that the night that the Mets won the World Series, was at that point the least watched Monday night game in history. It's also a pretty good one. It was the Redskins and the Giants from New York or New Jersey, and that's what we're doing this week. Okay. Not going to happen, but okay. And if it does, I'll do a mea culpa video. But if the Cowboys win tonight, it won't happen tonight. So anyway, so what else you got? What else is on your guys' mind tonight? 427 subs. That's a lot of subs. I'm not that hungry. So thanks to all the new subscribers to the channel. Like I said, Kurt Berglund has a new channel out. You should go subscribe to him. Sports Time Machine's trying to get to 200 subs before the end of October. If you haven't subbed to him, go give that channel a look. Rob's always looking for subs. Rob's got a lot of good stuff going on his. How many Stanleys you pulled, Demos? See, what else is going on? The cold's finally gone. Voice finally feels all right. Desperately need a haircut. Wife is doing okay. It was 35 here this morning. We got out of the house this morning to go get our coffee, and it felt like it wanted to snow. In fact, in that rainstorm that we got the other day that dumped about 2 inches of rain on us, there were the higher elevations got snow in that nor'easter. You didn't really at all. There's really no wrong way to do a box break. You took the time, you read the names. You don't want to do it in 50 minutes. You know what I don't like? Do you ever wonder why when you watch some of especially the group breaks that you watch through, and they open up the cards and they ignore the base cards and go right for the hits and that. If I want to buy cards, I'm just going to buy the cards. I've never understood the whole point of a group box break. And then random, I don't hate the Yankees, but if you put my name in a random thing about what team I'm going to get, oh, goody, I'm going to get the Oakland Athletics or the New York Yankees. It's not stuff that I want. And so, no, I think, Demos, you did just fine. And Bobby Catalano, she was Bobby Junkwax for a couple of weeks. Keep doing it. And don't worry about the names. It's the people who do cards for a living, that butcher card names, that I don't like. But for that stuff, hey, it's all about having fun. I wanted at some point to have all the 80s for Topps. I've got a few years, and I've got some unopened. But 80s getting rather expensive, especially with Ricky Henderson. I have all of 81. Opened up a bunch of rack packs from 82. 83 I should probably get. I have 84, and I think I had the rest of it. It's not... How you doing, Sports Time Machine? It's not that expensive, but if you go into the early 80, especially 80, because of Ricky's card. How are you? So, no. Now, Demos is also doing the 1986 World Series using different card engines. Am I going to watch? No. I watched the Strat cards were quite interesting, but no. The funny thing, for those of you who are Nats fans who are about to go through your first World Series experience, I remember when the 86 World Series started. Of course, 83 is pricey, yeah, because there's lots of rookies. There's Sandberg, there's Gwynn, there's Boggs, and those were in the base top sets. Those weren't in the traded either. 86 World Series. Red Sox, of course, were down 3-1 to California going into that Sunday afternoon Game 5, and the late Dave Henderson hit the home run. Somehow California tied that game in the 9th. Steve Crawford gave my favorite baseball quote of all time. He was the winning pitcher of that one. He pitched the 10th, and I was like 10 or 11 innings anyway. He said at one point, if there was a bathroom on the mound, I would have used it. I get it. So the Red Sox destroyed. Sure, we can. We're telling a story about baseball. We can talk about hockey in a minute. So, they stunned the Angels. Angels were down their last strike. And then the Angels had to fly across the country back to Boston for game 6 and 7. And you had the sense, and that, 14 years old, and I didn't really know what dead team walking is. It was kind of like the way the Cardinals played all through that, the NLCS. And they scored 3 in the top of the first, and the Red Sox scored 3 in the bottom of the first of game 6. And that was it. California was done. They were done. I knew we were going to the World Series. Now, I was too young to remember. I've watched game 6 of 75. I do remember that. But really, it was my first full-fledged teenage, Red Sox World Series appearance, and I knew that we were going to get smoked. The Mets had won 108 games. They had won the division by 20. They had survived Houston thanks to Lenny Dykstra and that wonderful game 6. And I thought that, I'd be happy if we took a game and then we took the first 2 in New York, and it kind of became a serious thing. And so for my Washington friends who are going to go through this for the first time, because there hasn't been a World Series played in Washington since 1933, just kind of relax and enjoy the moment. And if they've put themselves in the position to win, great, and don't be too disappointed if it doesn't happen. Oh, absolutely. Oh, goodness gracious. Yes. 88 A's were absolutely dead. And then in game 2 was the game that Hershiser pitched in New York, or in that series in Los Angeles, and he had 3 hits in that game, which was more than McGuire and Canseco had the entire series. He was at one point, wasn't he? I don't know. All right, because we can't talk any more baseball. What a wonderful start to the hockey season. If you haven't watched hockey in a while because you didn't think there was any offense, check out a game or two. There's been a lot of offense. Up until last week, the first 2 weeks of the season, the goal productions per game were equaling the mid-90s. And so lots of wide open stuff. Lots of good teams, of course. The Bruins are playing pretty well. Toronto, unfortunately, is too. And so is Tampa. Montreal 4-3, 2-3. I forget how they figure this stuff out now. They need another score, but that's been fun to watch. Dave and I, by the way, have agreed on 2 teams to play in a strat series that we're going to play on my channel. But I think that's going to start after the World Series. My nights are pretty much tied up for the next week. But we're going to do, I think it's 82-83. So we're going to do the last Islander Cup. He's going to play Edmonton. I'm going to play New York. We're going to play they use some special rubber. It's the stuff that they have at CVS and Walgreens. Not the king size stuff either. And he's stuck in New Orleans. Ha 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 ha. I saw that. Someone sent me the final score for that game. 6 overtimes for Virginia Tech over North Carolina. That's incredible. No, I back to the hockey thing. I think that they've opened up the offenses a little bit, and there's a lot more precise passing in the game, and the quality of play has been pretty good. Like I said, Montreal played 50 good minutes. It's a 60-minute game. So Dave and I, after the World Series, will stream those live. We're going to stream them on StreamYard, and he will have the cards, and I will the game cards, and I will be able to flip, and we'll do some visual presentations and just have a good time. So look for that. That's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that. We're going to play a mishmash. I think it's going to be pretty much Strat Advanced, except for the face-off. So there'll be some basic things, but we'll see what he wants to do. There. Can we talk baseball yet? Can we talk baseball, Danny? I watched some of the Giant game today. It was monsooning in New York, and Dave told me it was pouring in Washington too. They just didn't look good today against Arizona. Patriots play tomorrow night. I forget who they play. And the Dolphins lost again today. How about that? So let's see. So what else do you guys want to talk about? Any other questions? You know, there was talk of that, of actually changing the size of the net a couple years ago, just because goalie equipment is so big that it just doesn't take much for a goalie to fill the net. Jets, Pats. Be interesting now with d'Arnaud healthy again. I mean, the Jets had a big win against the Cowboys last week with d'Arnaud back, and just how much that inspires the Jets. But we will see. Will I watch? No. Actually, it works out quite well. The next Canadiens game is Thursday night against the Sharks, which is an off night for the World Series. So, but yeah, so Washington fans, enjoy the next week. I mean, if good things happen, good things happen. But this is, I mean, the franchise to me has turned the corner as far as what it can and can't do. Where's promo? Oh, no. Old Richmond hockey team gave away pucks, but not until the game was over. The exits were all blocked with people wanting a puck. People were chanting blank the puck, and it rhymed. And it does rhyme. Absolutely. You know what? Unless there's a game on ESPN, I don't watch ESPN. And when 90% of the television I do watch is muted. I'll probably watch, I'll have the sound on, I think, for the World Series. I thought Joe Buck actually did a good job with the call. We're going to get some complaints about that. It's tough. Some of my Houston friends were complaining, oh, he loves the Yankees too much. And some of my Yankee friends were going, oh, he loves the Astros too much. And you just can't, especially now with everything being available in your own market. So if you're used to watching Michael Kay on Yes or Todd Callis down in Houston, if you're an Astro fan in Vermont, you can watch Todd Callis up here, or you can watch Michael Kay up here, or listen to John and Susan. I don't know who the Astros radio people are, or watch Bob and FP, which is not the ideal thing for people who don't like baseball. Can we talk curling? Yeah, you go right ahead. Give it a thumbs down. Sure. Did you bring your broom? Sweep. Hard. Turns out that the Canadiens' primary announcer is actually a backup curling announcer, too. 40 years old. Quite good. And Dave Poulin, Mr. Gardner, is doing the color for the Habs on TV this year. It's interesting to watch that Smoltz is the one that I don't really feel warm and fuzzy about. The big thing with Buck used to be that he just was kind of too passe on the calls, and that hasn't been the case the last few years. I definitely think he's better on football than he is on baseball, but I think the 2011 series really kind of changed my feeling on Buck. That game, of course, he was settled with McCarver and Harold Reynolds for a while. But game 6 of that series, first of all, was just one of the best baseball games ever played. And Buck was pitch perfect. And it's tough because he grew up a Cardinal fan. And when the Red Sox beat the Cardinals in the 2013 series, he had to call against the Cardinals. Are the brooms in curling sanctioned, or can they use anything handy? I think I don't know the answer to that. Obviously, straw brooms can leave debris, and you don't want that. So they don't want anything that's going to leave. I didn't watch last night either. I found out this morning. There's videos on YouTube that you can watch that show how they set up the rinks. And it's fascinating. It's boring, but it's fascinating. Can you sweep with the sweep? I suppose, yeah, at the Olympics. My wife likes curling. I think she just likes men's with brooms. I don't think there's anything that no, because they don't do it professionally. In the big tournaments, they're all national teams, or I guess they do have American teams, but Canada, the men's tournament is called the Brier, and the women's is Tournament of Hearts, and it's all done by province to get those national representatives. And I think Ontario, because of their population, has 2 teams. And for those of you who remember Bob Cole, he actually was a skip, I believe, on the Newfoundland team in the Brier a couple times back in the 70s. So there. Have we talked enough about curling, or do you need more talk? It's serious, and they do a good job of it too. Women's curling is fun. So are the men. Yeah, curling's fun. They do have a rink up here in Essex, the next town over. It's just not. We don't have a lot of ice rinks here. It was Sportsman Z was saying, well, you would think that hockey would be big up here. Well, it is and it isn't. We just don't have the rinks up here that you would think. Our dear friend Dave down in the Boston area, where there's all sorts of there aren't any private rinks up here. There are no commercial rinks. They're either run by the towns or run by the schools or run by universities. And so it's just not, it's not as popular as it should be. Chunky butt on a Roomba and send him. I haven't played poker in forever. When it was legal to play for money, I put 50 in an account in the wintertime because they really don't travel all that much. I got so good at the free tables that actually didn't lose money at a 1 and 2 cent table. Yeah, of course, you guys had the Olympics there, and you're probably going to get another one in the next couple decades. There's a rink in Belfast, Maine. A curling rink? Yes, I believe poker is a sport. It is not a game of chance. It's a game of skill. You can get fat and drink Red Bull or smoke cigars doing it, but yeah, it's competitive. I mean, what would be your definition of a sport? Auto racing certainly is a sport, and there's certainly athletes. Are you an athlete to play poker? Probably not, but competitive poker and bridge and Scrabble, I mean, there's world Scrabble tournaments, are sports. You may not use the body specifically, but you're using the thing between your ears. So, yes, I would consider poker a sport. Another one that I'm bad at. I got a couple books. I've tried to learn how to play Texas. Omaha just confused the living daylights out of me, and I could never win any money doing that. Blackjack's a sport. If you play competitively, I mean, hell, they have long drive golf contests, but technically that's a sport. Oh, I think Clinton saying yes to, is poker a sport, or is that I'm surprised there's not more in Maine curling rinks because of their surrounded by Canada on 2.5 sides. In Nova Scotia and New Brunswick and Quebec certainly do have competitive teams, but they have kind of like tournaments to see who's going to represent the province in the bigger tournaments. There. Before the wife and I got married, the year that we were going to we got married, 98, the Winter Olympics were in Nagano, Japan. And because sharing is caring, we both got the flu at the same time. And so that hour and a half a day, that particular week that we were up and not in bed for good reasons, we watched curling because that's what the CBC showed. That was fun. That's about all I remember, that and having 102 temperature. I love cribbage. I've never played pinochle. I love canasta. Cribbage, I'm okay at. I tried to teach myself bridge, And that is, wow, what a complex game. My dad played backgammon. I've played it a couple times. I've played chess a few times. I haven't watched it yet. I was surprised to see him do a new one of those. I thought we beat the subject to death already. How you doing, Larry Harris? Dominoes. Sarah used to play dominoes. That's fun. I love watching. There's a channel on YouTube, by the way. I don't know how we're gonna get from dominoes to marbles. That he does Marble Olympics. Just has marbles do a bunch of athletic events. It's fun to watch. AC Ducey. Okay. I've heard of that. I don't think I've ever played it. Used to play a game called Head and Foot, which is a variation of canasta. In order to go out, same thing. You play with a partner against another partner set, and to go out, you need to have Bill Flynn. How are you? Nice to meet you. Glad to have you along. Navy backgammon. Okay. I bet there were some good games on the ships. Head and Foot. In order to go out, you needed to have both Red Book, which is a natural set of 7, and of course as many Black Books as you can. So that was fun, and those would take 2 or 3 hours to play. Lots of fun. The checkers start off the board. Okay. Like I said, it's been years since I played backgammon, but that's fun. I bet there were some good card games. I love Uno. I had an aunt that would come over once a week and bring takeout food, and we would do that 30 some odd years ago. That was almost 40 years ago. That was fun and colors and easy to play. Haven't played much checkers. Like I said, the last time I played, it's been a while since I played chess. Not that I don't like it. Yeah, I don't see. I guess because of the pitching matchups and the fact the first 2 games are in Houston, the Astros are heavily favored. They're really good, but yeah, I'm not going to be disappointed either way. And if the Yankees had made the World Series, I wouldn't have been disappointed if the Yankees won. I think Aaron Boone has done a good job. They need pitching. You need aces. Yeah, the thing with Uno is you can do that with a lot of different people or just 2. First time I played it in a group, because you do the skips and reverses, I went to unload my hand. No, Ron, you can't do that. Why? Because there's like 5 people playing. Like, oh. I saw they have a set in Braille, by the way. Rummy's a good one too. And I can play Gin on the computer. Not very good at it. But 500 I'm good at. So I played that with my sister, my oldest sister, when she was little. So that was fun. Clinton, have you ever done 3-handed cribbage? I've done that once or twice, and it was really weird. Did you folks even know there was such a thing as 3-handed cribbage? And the big difference is in the crib, everyone tosses 1 instead of 2, and then a random card goes in for the 4th. Cutthroat. Yes. You're referring to 3-hand or just regular? Because cribbage can be quite there, especially if you're playing muggins, which means if I miscount, your dad taught. Okay. With muggins, of course, if you haven't played cribbage, if I miscount my hand, and okay. Yeah, that is pretty cutthroat. You're absolutely right. If you miscount your hand, let's say I missed a pair, 15-2, 15-4, 15-6, and I peg for 6, and Clinton says pair for 8, and then Clinton gets the 2 points. Yeah, no, and that's that's a good bar. It's I don't know what they do in Maine in the bars, but the older bars in New York State they would do cribbage, and you play for points and take points all the time. I mean, that's part of the game. This is what I was gonna used to play Rummy 500 and Crazy Eights, and I can't remember this. I can't remember the scoring for Crazy Eights either. Rummy 500 is fun. We had back in the Apple IIe days, one on a floppy disk, one of the big 5.25-inch ones. And on one side was cribbage, and I loved that, and the other one was solitaire. My dad loved the solitaire. I no, but there was a different games. Yeah, my grandparent. I had a set of grandparents that played pinochle. It's like what's 9 through ace, right? There's nothing lower in a hand than in a pinochle deck than a 9, or is it all face cards? Never played pinochle. I miss playing cards. Wife isn't all that interested in it. Okay, so I was right. Yeah, my mother talks about going to her mother-in-law, my grandmother's, her mother-in-law's house to play pinochle, and she didn't like it. So I never learned it. Spades, I'm terrible at. Hearts, I'm atrocious at. But poker, if I play enough, I get pretty good at. And cribbage is fun. I played a fair share of solitaire cribbage. So what are you guys' favorite card games? Cards are cheap. There's a tabletop simulator on Steam I should try out too. Played a lot of. I love Yahtzee. I'm not sure if I've played it. I think I've got it on one of those Hoyle thingies, but I'm not sure if I've even played it. You get the gist of Euchre, but not good at it at all. That's kind of me with hearts. Get stuck with that. Once it goes south, I lose it. Absolutely lose it. So what other card games did you guys play? Clinton, what'd you play in the Navy besides backgammon? I've done a couple poker tournaments here at the house. Had some friends that played back back when poker was really big, and it was easy picking up bad players. But if you were any good at it, I get it. We play. Oh yeah, Racco. Okay, Yahtzee's fun. Wife plays Pogo on the PC. Euchre is a Midwestern card game. Well, since we both live in New England, I guess I know why I don't know that. Battleship. Yep. Played a bunch of that. That's World of Warships is essentially Battleship, by the way. Except for you get to use real ships. Cribbage, okay. Pinochle, never played Spades too many. Yeah, that's one of those things where everyone kind of plays it different. Surprised no one's mentioned bridge. Yeah, Yahtzee is one of my favorite games. In military pinochle, we toss the 9s. Okay. I have no idea what that means, but okay. I just remember from my mother talking about it that it just was pretty cutthroat. Stratego is a game my dad played a lot. In fact, it was to the point where my mother banned it from the house. You're not playing that again. He cheated too. It's the only thing my dad ever cheated at in his life was Stratego. I learned cribbage 10 or 11, I think, when I learned cribbage. Got a nice cribbage set. But there really is no place comfortable for Sarah to be and for me to be at the same time. Yeah, he cheated at Stratego. And Monopoly was not played much at the house. I was in college before I realized that you didn't get money for landing on free parking. Phase 10? That's an Uno derivative. Yep. I've tried it. I just didn't. Yeah, that is. Yeah. Remember growing up as kids, parents would have the aunts and uncles and my cousins over for New Year's, and they would play games most of the night. That's fun. I mean, these are the times I wish you guys lived closer. I'd sit there and play cards all night. Loved it. Like I said, Canasta, I think, is probably my favorite card game. Whist, I've heard of that. We were talking about Quisp earlier today, the cereal. I've heard of it, but it doesn't. I don't think I've ever played it. And of course, I think younger people would be surprised to realize that there was lots of versions of poker that have nothing to do with the stuff you see on television. 5-card stud, 7-card stud, everything wild. Rook, never heard of that one. Bud Whist, okay. So whist has been around since the 1300s. No, I'm kidding. Okay. Or bid whist. Would that be kind of similar to bridge? We play a bunch of Risk. Spoons. Okay. Haven't heard of that one. Okay, but not as intense. Yeah, because bridge really is intense. I mean, you go to the tournaments. Have you ever watched a bridge tournament on YouTube? That's kind of a random question. Have you ever seen a grown man naked, Timmy? We played Rook in high school. Card game? Are we talking about a card game here? Anyway, in a bridge tournament, you all play the same hand. So let's say there's 15 different tables going on. It's all the same hand. And the scoring is all done compared to how other teams handle the same hand. So it's very much like solving a puzzle. And that's before you make the proper bid and then see if you can at the auction and then winning the auction. Because God help you if you can't win the auction. Yeah, okay. I've never heard of that before. I've heard of Euchre, but I don't know what that one is. We'll go for a few more minutes. We're not talking baseball. Mr. Gardner, if you're here, what card games did you play? And no, I've never played strip poker. Played a lot of Risk. That is a fun game. Yeah, I think our paper still does a bridge column every day. The bridge tournaments. You know who was a good bridge player? Was Chico Marx. He was like an expert at it. You can go through on YouTube and find him actually playing and is being serious. And so, yeah, you go back through and read some of the older bridge stuff in the papers, the Omar Sharif and a couple of the other ones going, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. They were going to talk about making bridge an Olympic sport. Speaking of whether or not a game is a sport or not. It's like, well, hell, if I can learn to play this, maybe something that I could do. But Omar Sharif. Okay. Yep. Not the actor. Rook is a Trump-based trick. Rook is a Trump-based trick-taking game played with a deck of Rook playing cards. It was first sold in 1906 by Parker Brothers. Okay. So maybe, okay. The Rook deck is similar to a standard deck of cards, but only has numbers, okay, from 1 to 14 in 4 colors. So there's no suits. And I've tried to play online when we could do the. Yes. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. Playing the alternate colors for poker. So it's not just 2 reds and 2 blacks. Each color is each suit is a different color. That's weird because the other colors they use are green and blue. Kismet, no, I played Farkle. And I've certainly played triple Yahtzee. Passed a lot of time at work, and I was supposed to be working playing triple Yahtzee. All right, we're just going to go a few more minutes here. What's Kismet? I'm going to take a drink. Yeah, okay. So those are fun. Cards are fun. I'm trying to think now if I've heard of that. Color-coded Yahtzee. Okay. That kind of sounds like Uno with dice. That's interesting. All right, so we'll give it a couple more minutes. Tomorrow, games 1 and 2 of our pre-play of the World Series from Houston, the Nationals, and the Astros, 7 o'clock, and it will be a doubleheader starting then, games 1 and 2. If there's lineups out, we'll try to get those because my lineup making abilities is not fairly good, especially for the home team. DH, of course, and Houston, and no DH once the series hits the weekend in Washington. That's a good point, Todd. We all like dice-based sports because of this. I mean, even if you couldn't know what the dice were, if you were at a certain age, you can just count the dots and figure it out. But yeah, I'm sure it has a lot to do with that. So you must work, Mr. Parks, at a pretty regional office if you're doing dispatching for all of northern New England, because StreamYard Town Hall at 9. The new thing with the recording is for the professional, and we had the basic. So it's not at our level, I don't think. But Dave's going to leave. We didn't talk about baseball the last 40 minutes, and Dave was quiet. Football this week, Cleveland, Minnesota on Tuesday, Washington and the Giants on Thursday. Portland, okay. So, yeah, I mean, Portland, it's 3.5 hours from here to Maine. That must be a pretty good-sized regional office. Is it just the 3 northern New England states? 8:08 for the first pitch for the first 6 games, and Game 7 will be 8:07. Dan Shulman, Buster Olney, and I forget who the color guy is, will be calling for ESPN radio, and that should be a pretty good crew. All right, so that's a pretty good one. All right, so Dave's going to go watch the StreamYard. I'm going to go get comfortable. Any more questions, comments, whatever? This is fun. Really? Well, you just do it. I'm just kind of curious. At some point, we got to have you on the Ron Juckett Show, Mr. Parks. If you got a camera that works. Action PC. I thought about doing it for roster card, but I bought the Action PC teams for $7. It's kind of like, I guess, train dispatching, where you can sit in Jacksonville on a CSX line and Casey Jones and be running trains in out of Framingham, Massachusetts. How the hell you do it and be safe about it, I don't know, but you still do. Okay. You need to come on. Clinton's got a very interesting story, our resident baseball historian, but is a very interesting person. A lot of geography is involved. Yeah, that would be, for me, I think, the difficult part, because you have to, when I did the month worked for the city as a dispatcher, at one point they drove me all around the city. And so you would need to know where things are, the easy way to get there, and how to pronounce things there. All right, Larry, we're going to cut this short. Well, not short. You two have a great night and a safe week. So lots of baseball and football coming up on the channel. Next week's 60s tournament game is going to be the 68 Tigers and the 69 Orioles, and the home team hasn't won any of them. Hey, just remind me the next time we do one of this. I'll talk railroad with you. All right. I got a quick story. Thanks, Todd. Seminole family vacation, 13 years old. We go out to I'll get to that in a second. I could spit on Church Street. No, I couldn't. It's about a good 9-iron from here, Clinton. Seminole family vacation, 1985. Out to meet my dad's, my grandparents for the first time. That's my stepdad, technically. And so we're out in Silver Creek, New York. And there's, of course, the big old double railroad lines. It's the main line from Albany to Chicago, goes through Selkirk. And the trains run through there all the time. And so I like Conrail. Oh, I don't know what that is, but I like it. And so that's how I kind of got into railroading fun. Specifically, 500 feet. I'm on the corner of Pearl and North Champlain. So if you look at a map and just kind of go back. Let's put it this way. I live by the church that they named Church Street after. So it's about 5 minutes. If I go to one of the coffee shop that we go to, it's about 10. So, but yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that you kind of, without, yeah, and I don't really care if you know my address or not. Ooh. That's what Honey Bunny says. Those would be fun. And it's the same line. I miss Conrail. All right. I think that'll do it unless you guys got something else really quick. Was trying to get Al on tonight and he was busy. He's taking care of a family member. Hope that is going well from him. But yeah, I'm not going to give you my street address on the air, but I'm pretty easy to find. Trust me. But yeah, I'm not too far from Church Street. Or you could have asked Dave because he's been here. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And you heard me tell the Ken Castro story, right? No, don't. Oh, and hope it's not his dad. I don't get that one. Where? Thanks. And Wildcat72, how are you? Will, hope you're doing well. You must be excited about basketball season starting Tuesday. How you doing? Wildcat72 cardboard. Yeah, Clinton it is. Awesome. All right, that'll do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said, Nats fans, just enjoy the next week. Just really enjoy this. You've waited a long time for this. Enjoy it. Talk to you tomorrow night for the first 2 games of our World Series pre-play. Until then, thank you so much. Hit that like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.